Which one? Hey, everybody! Uncle Rich here. Hey, today is July 8th, and I tell you, today's a historic day in Danbury. Guys, I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. The mayor came through. Now, let me rephrase that. You know, we've been talking about the solarization of Danbury and how important it was to get the mayor to write a letter and to stand behind the program. Well, guys, today at 4:56, after I harassed the mayor, I didn't harass him, but I made multiple calls because I said, Mr., you know, I told his assistant, Roger, who was a real doll, and I want to tell you, Roger, I want to thank you for all your help. He's a real gentleman, and I tell you, it's Roger Palanzo, and I tell you, he's an asset to the community. He listened to me. He did all the things that you want an assistant to the mayor to do. I mean, he really went to bat for me, which is really going to bat for everybody, and that's why we're here, you know, for the good of the community. So anyway, the mayor, you know, we're going to show you some videos tonight, and one of them is going to be on the Park Avenue School. And when you see what a beautiful job they did with the solar panels at the school, it's just going to blow you away. So you could see we're already heading in the right direction. So what we want to do is we wanted to get the city behind us, and it's very important for phase 3 of the solarization program. And today the mayor called me and he said, Rich, we're very, very interested. They just wanted to make sure that they went about it the right way, but he goes, it looks like we're going to be in the running. So folks, I'm so happy. I tell you, if I could run, I'd do a victory lap, you know? But I tell you, I'm so happy. I'm tickled orange. Now, really, guys, I tell you, I didn't know what to do. And it was a tough day because I'm trying to prepare for the show. And I don't know what to call the show. And the reason, you know, because I hadn't gotten a response. So anyway, so today we're just going to be blank. It's show number 21. And hopefully this is going to be something big. I mean, you know, if we can get in on this program and if we can get the whole community to rally around us. I mean, each week, you know, what I can do is I can give people updates. Hey, you know, Ginny Jones over on Smith Street is getting installed, and hey, such and such a business is decided, and hey, and you know, like I said, with the referral money that we can generate, you know, we could put that referral money to good use. And like I said, the first thing we want to do is, you know, we'll set up a little fund, you know, and we'll let the mayor, you know, write the check, but we're going to tell the mayor where the money goes. And the most important thing is we want to make sure that the kids have a good, healthy meal at the start of every day. That's number one. This way they can learn when they have a full belly, you know? And the other thing we want to do is we want to make sure we take care of all the senior citizens. We want to make sure we get them a good hot meal once a day. And from the referral monies that we get from these companies, it's a gift from the sun. You know what I mean? And the fact that the mayor wants to take advantage of it now, and he wants to get on board, I mean, this is something to rally behind. And I told him, I said, Mr. Mayor, you guys can go back, you know, show number 18, you know, Mayor Mark. I told him, I said, I'm going to make you the most popular mayor in the United States. Well, guess what, folks? After we make him the most popular mayor in the United States, we'll make him the most popular governor. And why not? Because if he's doing the right thing for the common good of the people, those are the type of people that we want leading us. The people that want to lead the people and don't have the interest of the 1%. I mean, we want to get away from the fossil fuel economy. It's just really simple, you know? And I mean, it's becoming obvious and it's becoming evident. And that's why we're here. And that's why we have all the question marks. So that you ask questions and hopefully we're going to answer them all. But I mean, it's kind of hard, you know, doing the show and getting everything together. And sometimes, and I tell you, really, this week pushed me because, you know, with the holiday and, you know, the CEFIA fund, you have to have, everything has to be submitted by Friday, by 12, I think it's 5 o'clock on Friday. So, I mean, we don't have any more time to this is it. 4 days, and either we're in or we're out. But, you know, hopefully, with the funding and with everything else, and when you see the clips that we're going to do tonight, you know, the first one I said is going to be about the Park Avenue School. And then we want to talk about Elon Musk again. And I tell you, when you talk about giving back, you know, we're going to show, he puts his money where his mouth is. It's that simple. And then after that, we're going to show, you know, Elon's theories on 100% renewability. And then we're going to give Stuart Varney the business again, our old pal from Fox News. We're going to rake him over the club. Well, we're not going to. Ed Bagley's going to. We're just going to kind of. And you're going to see the invalid assumptions that he made and how he makes a fool out of himself on national TV. And like I said, we're not going to make fun of him. We're going to let him make fun of himself. All right? And then we're going to go to the old stalwart at Fox News, Bill O'Reilly. And we're going to show how he still doesn't understand what's going on. And then we're going to go back to New Fairfield, to our buddy Mary Lou's house up in New Fairfield. And we're going to show you what she's been able to accomplish up there. And we're going to show you how you can actually watch how well, I mean, you can't. You can watch it on a graph. I mean, you can't see the electrons move or anything. But we're going to show you some charts where it shows how much electricity she produced for the month, for the day, for the year. I mean, it's wild. And she can do this all day. And if she sends you an email, you'll be able to see it, what her house is producing. So this is no BS. You go online and you look and you go, wow. And you know, a while back I told you about there was a site that you could go online and you could actually see what a wind turbine from the University of Maine was producing. And that's wild. Because I tell you, a lot of times you go on, sometimes it doesn't produce anything. But sometimes it looks like such a champ and you could see how much energy it's producing. So anyway, we're going to start at the beginning like we always do. You know, we like to picture the American flag, and we're going to test John again. And like I say to everybody, when you see that flag blowing in the breeze, the one thing that we want to do is we want to reach over and we want to scooch the guy next to us, and we want to say what? We want to say, look at that flag blowing in the breeze, and what does it represent? It represents free energy. And why aren't we harvesting that free energy? And why aren't we capturing it? And guys, we made up our own term here. And look at the color coding on that with the orange and yellow in the background. Yay! So anyway, we call that friendly energy, all right? And the one thing about friendly energy, we'll never have to send our kids to go fight for it. We got so much wind and sun, we don't know what to do with it. And once again, guys, for anybody that knows somebody looking for a job, have them go on to any one of these solar websites. They have job applications. You could fill them out online. You know, so I mean, if you know somebody that's struggling, believe me, solar energy is going to be what the transistor was to electronics back in the 50s. And guys, I'm not kidding you. And you know, like, John, if we could bring up one of those stills that we have up there with the billboard. You know, the billboard that shows a solar panel. There you go. Look at this, guys. If this doesn't say it all, this isn't a billboard. It's a power plant. And look at the solar panels on the top. And then the picture on the bottom represents use electricity wisely. And guys, you know, when you put a tattoo, and I call them tattoos, whenever you put up solar panels, you're putting a tattoo on your roof. When you put a tattoo like that, it's plain for everybody to see. Hey, these things work, you know? So anyway, you know, with the getting back to the flag and the winds of change, we always like to show that one, right, John? The Chinese wind of change. You know, some people, when the winds of change blow, some people build walls. Other people build windmills. And guys, that's what we want to do. We want to build windmills and put up solar panels. I mean, it's really that simple. You know, it's all, and we could make a buck doing it at the same time. And you know, solar energy and any kind of energy is always about what it's always about. The money. The money. So the thing is, you put the panels on your roof, and we showed you in earlier, shows how they take a satellite picture of your house and they can see if you qualify or don't qualify. And it has nothing to do financially. You know, if you live under a shady tree like I do, you're not going to qualify. If you live behind a mountain, you might not qualify. So there are, some people are going to be, your house might be in the wrong orientation. You really want your roof to be facing southward. And, so some people are going to make out like bandits, and, the tree-hugging people, they're going to do it to feel warm and fuzzy, And they can feel warm and fuzzy when they're counting their money. And the capitalists, you know what? They can feel warm and fuzzy too when they're counting their money. Because it's the same money, even if you're doing it for a different reason. We don't care what reason you're doing it for, as long as you do it. That's all. And as long as you do it and you say to whoever puts panels on your roof, I want to make sure that the referral fee goes to the city of Danbury. And that's it, guys, because that's what this is all about. The community getting together, raising awareness, making things happen, and we're all going to profit. Our success is going to speak volumes to the rest of the country, and that people are going to go, hey, let's try to do what they did in Danbury. But you know what? We'll be so far ahead of them, it won't matter. By the time they catch up, we'll be on the next phase. So like I said, whether you're, a progressive or a conservative, or if you're one of the Glenn Beck types of people, you want to put solar panels on your roof because Obama's going to shut the sun off. So you can put the solar panels on your roof while you have your instant food, and you can put it in your safe with your guns and your, I tell you. All right, but anyway, guys, from now on, we really want to stop throwing stones. Don't look left, don't look right, straight ahead, straight forward. You know what I mean? We can bicker and bitch and moan and do everything later. But for now, let's make things happen. All right, now the first video we're going to show you is the Park Avenue School. And I tell you, when you see what's going on in Danbury, you're going to be impressed. And I tell you, my kudos to Mayor. Mayor, you really did a good job here. All right, John, let's roll it. Take two. All right, guys, we're at the Park Avenue School. All right, you can see Old Glory. Almost blowing in the breeze. But you're going to notice all the solar panels. Now, my first question is, how come those last four on the top row were never put in? Why didn't they go all the way across? But if you look, and I'm going to try to raise this up. I don't know if this is going to work. But there's a whole array across the whole thing, across the whole top. And obviously you could see the work that they're doing on the parking lot. But if I turn this way, we're facing down towards the mall. So if you were to make a left out of the mall and come right up Park Avenue, this is the way you'd be going. Now I'm going to try to take a picture of the other side. But you can see, look at that. Just think about all the electricity that's being generated just from that. And that's being fed to the grid, and that's probably being picked up by all the condos over here. So, sorry, but I'm standing on a mound of dirt. But if these condos are getting the power, we're eliminating one of the problems. And one of the problems is the delivery system. to deliver electricity to these condos. It's only got to go across the street. All right, I'm trying to go down this bank, so if something unexpected happens, this could be fun. Oh, mama. All right, I want to try to do this quick, but, you know, this is ironic because the parking lot at the Stanley Rough School in, up on Nancy Drive, they're putting in okay, I'm almost there. I hope this doesn't screw everything up. I'm going to shut it off. See that, guys? There is nothing I won't do for this show. I mean, for the audience, for you guys, you know? I mean, I had to risk injury climbing up that mountain. But guys, really, across the top of the building, there's also solar panels. And I tried to show it, but it's, you know. But now, we're going to go to part 2. We're going to show you the other part. And the one thing that I mentioned earlier in that clip is, you know, when it comes to electricity, a lot of the power that's generated is lost in the transmission. And I'm not kidding. So, by them generating electricity at the school, they only got to push it across the street. So, I mean, you've solved a big problem. And don't forget, the power companies are going to have to build generating plants one way or the other. You know, whether it's a gas or a coal-fired plant, they're going to have to build them. So what's more efficient and what's more financially feasible? Have little mini solar generating plants, like the rooftops. All right, now we're going to go to part 2, and you'll be, when you see all these things, and we got some questions for the kids here, but go ahead, John, roll it. All right, guys, so once again, this is the back of the school, and you can see the array. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. Now, I don't know what each panel generates, but that's something we got to figure out. Maybe we can get some of the kids involved with this so they can tell us what each one of those panels represents. And will one panel power one computer? You know, will one panel power a refrigerator? I mean, these are things that people need to know. And guys, I'm going to try to find out for you. But if anybody can help me, you can call in. And they're doing a nice job, but look at that. Look at that. Every day those kids are going to come into school and they're going to see that tattoo on their school roof. And they're going to wonder, why aren't there tattoos on the roofs of these condos? And why shouldn't the condo owners be allowed to enjoy the same monetary savings that the school is enjoying? And that's why we want to promote the CEFIA program. You know, the Clean Energy Finance Investment Administration. And condos like this, they could virtually live off the grid. You know, you'll generate enough power. You won't have to, you know, who knows what'll happen. But stay tuned, guys, because we're going to find out. You know what I was just thinking about? When my kid played soccer, I always videotaped his games. And even though the video cameras were pretty light, you know, I'd always be shining it up at the trees. And they would always give me the business, and it just brought back some memories. But, you know, hey, when you're doing a low-budget production like this, you can't expect too much, you know. All right, now anyway, you can see the town of Danbury, and I'm not exactly sure you know, how all the pieces fit as far as the solar planning and everything goes with Danbury. But guys, as we move along, these are all things that we want to find out. You know, because I mean, if we can really get free power to the schools and stuff and to the senior centers, that's what we want to do. You know, so I mean, we got things that we can take, we can make things happen once again. And we're going to go back to the guy that kind of like got me going. You know, Elon Musk, show number 7. Oh, and by the way, Show number 17 went over the 1,000 mark. We had over 1,000 views, guys. And I want to thank everybody. And I want to thank all the people that are subscribing. Because I tell you, it makes me feel good knowing that what I'm doing is appreciated. And I just want to thank everybody for that. So anyway, we're going to do the next clip. And this is really the guy that really got me going. Because until I really heard of Elon Musk, I kind of was like, I lived in a vacuum. No more, though. All right, John, let's run the next clip. And this is good news from Elon Musk.
He is, by the way, the billionaire who founded PayPal, developed an electric car, and launched rockets into orbit. Now, he is facing the biggest challenge, perhaps, of his career, one of the most infamous congested highways in America. That's right. He's already shelled out a fat check of his own money, and he says he's gladly paying even more to get traffic situation fixed. ABC's Akiko Fujita has the story.
It's the freeway Angelenos love to hate.
I just avoid it like the plague.
The country's most heavily traveled road has never been a breeze. But construction to widen lanes on the highway connecting Orange County to the San Fernando Valley has made travel downright miserable.
How bad is traffic on the 405?
How clean does my language have to be?
It's so bad, PayPal founder Elon Musk is shelling out $50,000 to a citizens group devoted to unlocking the gridlock. The billionaire who developed an electric car and launched rockets into orbit, now taking on his biggest challenge yet, bringing traffic salvation to the 405.
We can get a rocket to orbit in under 10 minutes, whereas driving even a 10-mile stretch on the 405 can take over an hour.
Musk is one of 400,000 drivers who take the 405 every day. The 15-mile commute from his Bel Air home to work takes an hour on average.
It's just soul-destroying.
Construction, now $100 million over budget, isn't scheduled to be completed until next year.
It's not possible to completely close down the 405 and expedite the work.
Take a look at how slowly cars are moving in both directions. Musk says this is exactly what he finds so frustrating every day.
If you're going to close something down, it should be worked on top speed.
Musk is willing to shell out millions more to hire additional construction workers if it means making this all go away.
Has this made you think about maybe developing a car that flies so you can fly over traffic?
I mean, you can make a flying car today. It's not technically difficult.
At this rate, building that flying car may be a quicker fix. For Good Morning America, Akiko Fujita, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Guys, did you hear what he said in there on the commute to work? He used the word, it's soul-destroying. And that's true. I mean, you know, a lot of times I'll drive to Greenwich. And when I leave for Greenwich, if I don't leave by 6:30, I mean, I'm in trouble, you know? And I want to tell you, now, I don't work down there every day. You know, maybe only a couple of times a month, you know? I mean, not often. But if I had to do it every day, you know, I could kind of understand why some of these people are mashugana. You know what I mean? Every day, the same thing. I mean, before you get to work, you're exhausted. No wonder things don't get done. But anyway, here's a guy that recognizes a problem. He reaches into his back pocket, takes some money out, and he wants to try to solve the problem. Would the Koch brothers do something like this? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They'd say we want them to go slower so they could burn more gasoline so we make more money. I tell you, you know, you really, you know. Anyway, we're going to go on to more good news from Elon Musk about 100% renewables. So, John, if you can hit us with that video.
By definition, we must move to renewable energy. I think people sometimes, you know, I mean, how can one argue against that? Because to argue for it is to say that we will eventually run out of energy and die. I mean, or civilization will collapse. So obviously, we must find ways to produce energy in a renewable manner. The question is just how hard we should try, what pace we should go at it. And I think logically we should go as fast as we can because since we know we have to get there eventually, It's better to get to a renewable future, a sustainable future sooner rather than later, get there before we do the environmental damage, not after. And even if one could say that, well, maybe there isn't that much environmental damage, to play the devil's advocate, maybe the environmental damage, maybe it won't be that bad. Why take the chance? Now, a lot of people would say, well, solar cannot really provide the energy that we need. But a lot of people don't perhaps appreciate that solar energy is already the source of the vast majority of Earth's energy. Without solar power, we would be a frozen ice ball at about 3 or 4 degrees above absolute zero. So really all we're talking about for solar electricity is taking the tiny, tiny bit of energy that humanity needs for electricity, which I emphasize is super tiny compared to the amount of solar energy that hits the Earth. You could generate all the electricity that the United States needs with about a 100-mile by 100-mile grid of solar power. So you could just take like a corner of Arizona, and that would be all the energy that the United States needs. I think the important thing to bear in mind with batteries is there really is no material shortage. The Earth's crust has essentially an infinite amount of metal as far as humanity is concerned. We have barely scratched the surface of the metal resource availability of the Earth's crust. And this is a very fundamentally different thing from mining coal or oil, or because metal is recycled. So once you have enough metal to support a given size of industry, then it just keeps going in a recycling process. I mean, there may be a small amount that exits the recycling process, but it's quite a small amount. So for lithium-ion battery packs, in the case of Tesla, the cathode, which is made of nickel, cobalt, and aluminum, is the most expensive part of the cell. The anode is made of carbon, and then there's a thin steel shell around the cell. So really the only part of that is remotely scarce, and only slightly so, is cobalt. And that's why we moved from a pure cobalt cathode to nickel, cobalt, aluminum cathode, which uses only about a quarter as much cobalt. But there's as much nickel as you could possibly want, certainly as much as aluminum as you'd need, no shortage of steel, and the cobalt it's expensive, but there's certainly plenty available to support all the world's needs. So there really is not some fundamental metals shortage with respect to battery packs. Then as I mentioned, at the end of life, you recycle them. And you can think of a battery pack as basically really high-grade ore. It's much more efficient to recycle a battery pack, which has essentially very high concentrations of nickel, cobalt, and aluminum, than it is to mine rock, which has a very low concentration. So it's at end of life, a lithium-ion battery pack has still about 10 to 20% of its value as a recycling item. So you definitely it pays to recycle.
I mean, isn't he a gentleman? I mean, he understands. He's not out to take advantage of people. I'm sure he could, all the money he's made, he could have taken it and run. He doesn't have to continue on, But I think he's got an ulterior motive. And the ulterior motive is the common good, not the 1%, guys. And I think you can see that. I think you can see the honesty. Now, the next clip we're going to do, and as you're watching this show, and hopefully you're becoming aware and you're starting to understand, how things work and the things that I try to achieve on this show. The reason for all the question marks, once again, is, where are you getting your information from? Who told you that? What are your sources? I mean, this is so important, because if you don't have validity, you have nothing. And that's why science is so important. Because we only want to deal with facts and figures. And you know, global warming, it's not a religion. You know, you don't believe or you believe or you don't believe. No. You look at the facts and the facts tell you. Thermometers don't lie, guys. Go into any Home Depot, any Lowe's, go anywhere that has more than one thermometer, and guess what? They're all going to tell you the same number. They don't lie. It's only the people that tell you, the people on Fox News. And why do they want to lie to you? It's simple, because they have an agenda. They have an agenda from the 1% to just deny everything, create doubt, it ain't happening. Now watch how Ed Bagley handles Stuart Varney. Watch how he doesn't let him escape. And like when Stuart Varney says, well, you know, 300,000 scientists said that global warming ain't happening. And he says, what kind of scientists were they? Because the only kind we care about are what? The climate scientists. We don't care about a guy that's got a PhD in geology. We don't care. We don't care about a guy that's an astrophysicist. Has nothing to do with climate change. So if he says, listen, I'm the smartest guy in the universe, when it comes to astrophysics, don't take his word on climate change. And this is what Ed Bagley keeps doing to Stuart Varney. He won't let him back away. And he makes these claims and he holds his feet to the fire and he won't let him escape. And guys, you got to do the same thing. When it comes to global warming, take no prisoners. Don't let people try to give you the double reverse. Because you know better. Why? Because you're smart enough. You've researched the sources. You know what you're talking about. It's not hearsay and innuendo and what other people say. All right, so anyway, watch how Ed Bagley does it and watch the BS that Stuart Varney comes up with to defend his position, and you guys will finally start to understand. You'll say, aha, I see how they do it. John, roll it.
I think the science is very clear in global warming. What these statements are, we'll go down the path and see what happens in peer-reviewed studies. Those are the key words here, Stuart. Peer-reviewed studies. If these scientists have done something wrong, it will be found out and their peers will determine it. I don't think geologists should write papers about being an actor or a newscaster, nor should, don't get your information from me, folks, or any newscaster. Get it from people with PhD after the name. Peer-reviewed studies are the keywords. And if it comes out in peer-reviewed studies that there are some cooking the books, that will come out.
Well, you know, Senator Inhofe has a list of 700 climate scientists who say this global warming, they've got problems with the whole theory of global warming. I put it to you.
There's not 700 climate scientists. There's weathermen and other people in there. There are some climate scientists.
The science is not in.
It is in.
No.
Stuart, quit saying that.
The debate is not over, sir.
Peer-reviewed studies. Go to Science Magazine, folks, Nature Magazine. Go to somebody you trust, National Geographic. Don't get it from you or me. Don't get it from Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck. No. Scientists, people with PhD.
All right. Okay.
Weathermen, not weathermen.
Okay. Listen
science, climate.
Listen to this. I had a Princeton professor on my program.
What does he have his degree in?
Look, he's a physicist. Okay,
a physicist?
He's a Princeton professor.
I want people who are PhDs in climate science.
Who's questioned the whole point.
Scientist isn't going to tell you the difference between a quark and a boson. He's not going to tell you
so
that.
There's no question whatsoever. Absolutely, no question in your mind.
You can be skeptical.
Right. The debate is
skeptical,
over.
But not denial. You guys
are over. The debate is over.
On global warming, the debate is very clear. It's out there in the scientific community. Read peer-reviewed studies. Peer-reviewed. That's all you need to do. Don't get it from you or me.
Boy, you know, it's like Stuart Varney was trained to mislead. And you see what he said to him. He said, what kind of scientist was he? He's a physicist. Guess what? It don't count. Would you go to your car mechanic to have your teeth pulled? I mean, really, think about this. You know, are you going to ask a bowler for golf lessons? You're going to ask the football coach to teach you how to play basketball? Let's get with the program. And what all they want to do at Fox News is mislead you. Why? So that we keep burning fossil fuels. Why? There's only one reason why, folks. And when we put solar panels on our roofs, you know what happens? We take away their control. I mean, it's the truth. You know, we have panels on our roof, we don't have to worry about them. They lose control, and that's the one thing they're afraid of. If they can't turn that oil spigot on and off, control the flow of oil. There was problems in Egypt. All of a sudden, the oil price goes up. Why? Because they got a reason to raise it. And you got to reach into your pocketbook, and you don't have a choice. But if you have solar panels on your roof, putting electricity into the batteries of your Tesla, you don't care if oil goes to $100 a gallon. You don't need it. And guys, that's what we're trying to do here. That's why we want to solarize Danbury. We want to set an example. Now, we're going to put a little more salt in the wound because I want to show you the one guy on Fox News that gets the highest ratings out of everybody. About 3 million people a night watch this bonehead. And watch what he does. And these poor guys, and you know, the average audience, the Bill O'Reilly average audience, the age is 71 years old. I mean, no wonder Fox has such a loyal audience. They're all sitting there waiting to die. They can't think anymore. I mean, these are the people that accept climate change, you know? They don't know if they're coming or they're going. All right, anyway. We're going to show you Mr. Bill O'Reilly. And guys, you're starting to see. You pick up, watch what this other guy says, and notice that he uses virtually no facts and no figures. Because they can't. If they used facts and figures, guess what? The whole story falls apart. So anyway, John, roll it.
Unresolved Problem segment tonight. The Obama administration believes that climate change is a frontline issue, that global warming must be addressed immediately. Now, that pleases organizations like Greenpeace, who are now saying the wildfires in California are spreading quicker because of climate change. Now, we invited Greenpeace on this evening. At first, they said, yeah, well, come on, but suddenly changed their minds and ran away. But joining us now from State College, Pennsylvania, AccuWeather guy Joe Bastardi, who thinks Greenpeace's wildfire theory is wrong. Okay, Joe, now what do you think's going on with Greenpeace? Why didn't they show up tonight? And is there anything to their wildfire spreading quickly theory?
Well, I don't want to disparage them. They've done some good things. In this case, I think their house of cards goes up in smoke when you compare it to the foundation of fact. I'm going to show you the facts over the last 2 years. If you look at this map, California has been very, very dry. Why is that the case? Well, whenever the Pacific Ocean starts cooling and the global temperatures start to cool, California gets dry. You see this ocean temperature presentation. All this cold water off California means the air sinks over top of California. When it sinks, it dries out. So global cooling is actually a cause of drought in California, which, by the way, is a dry climate naturally. And to prove to you that the globe is actually cooling, if you look at the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, their forecast was for temperatures to go up, up, up. And over the last 10 years, you can see in an up and down manner, they are coming down. So there's no question about the fact that at least over the last 10 years, it's cooling.
Okay. Why is the global warming movement so successful throughout the world?
Well, I think people haven't been confronted with the facts. And, you know, I don't ask people to believe me. I ask people to go and arm themselves and build the facts for themselves. Go look for the facts for themselves. The biggest secret behind all this is right up my alley with the tropics. You see, for while the Earth was supposed to be warming a little bit, the atmosphere over the tropics was supposed to really be warming up quite a bit. This is up at 30 to 50,000 feet. That would trap warmth underneath, and what has actually been happening? Nada. And consequently, an inconvenient truth is that tropical cyclone accumulated energy is down at record low levels, not record high levels.
Okay, but again,
you have to look globally.
Your stats are very solid, which is why we put you on a program. But this big industry, and the President of the United States is on board of the industry. Al Gore has made $100 million from it. I don't understand why so many people around the world just buy it. They just believe, like Greenpeace comes out and says, okay, the California wildfires, terrible, are spreading faster because of global warming. You say that's bull, that there's no science to back that up. But I'll submit to you, Joe, millions of people believe Greenpeace. They don't even care about the data.
Well, that's a problem in society today. You're a historian. You know the facts. You have to go back and look. For instance, let's take the hurricanes. Hurricanes are stronger now. Oh, is that so? How were we measuring hurricanes out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico back in 1920, 1930? When you look at a hurricane now, it's like we have a patient tied up to an IC unit. We're constantly monitoring every single second. If you look at the strength of landfalling hurricanes, for instance, they're no different than what they were 30, 40, 100 years ago. In fact, the 1944 hurricane up along the eastern seaboard, 600-mile wide diameter of hurricane force winds drove the boardwalk in Atlantic City back to Baltic Avenue. The point of the matter is, look at the history, look at the facts, go arm yourself, and then you make the call yourself.
All right. Well, that's why Greenpeace didn't show up, because they knew that you had the facts and they didn't. Joe, thanks very much. When we come back, Miller time on the president's speech this evening and the Van Jones resignation.
Okay. Now, guys, did you notice what he did? Did you notice what Joe Bastardi did? He made an invalid assumption. And that's what they do. Because all they want to do is create doubt. They really don't have to show proof. Because the thing is, did you see the softball questions that O'Reilly was asking him? How do these people believe it's happening? You know how they believe it, Bill? Because the last decade has been the hottest decade ever. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to figure this one out. You know, California and Colorado are on fire. And you're perpetuating this hoax that global warming isn't happening. You know, how do you look at yourself in the mirror how do you go to work? How do you walk into Fox Studios and say, I got to perpetuate this hoax again today? You know, and what's Rush Limbaugh going to do when he finally has to admit that global warming is happening and it's man-made? You know, I tell you, one day I was listening to him, and this is Rush Limbaugh, and they were talking about giving kids a vaccine. You know, there was some kind of like a SARS vaccine, or I forget exactly what it was. And a woman called up and she said, you know, Rush, I'm not going to give my kid that vaccine. I don't care what those liberals say. And I said, you know what? I hope that nothing ever happens to her child. Because could you imagine if you put your child at risk because you so fervently believed in a guy like Rush Limbaugh that you didn't give your kid a vaccination shot? Could you imagine that? And what they're trying to do now is they want to convince you that there's no global warming and your kids are going to be perfectly safe and happy. They're not. They're not. They're going to be lucky if they have a planet to live on if we don't stop this from becoming a total catastrophe. All right, now, guys, we went up to Mary Lou's house up in New Fairfield, you know, after we did the initial show 17 on Elon Musk, and I asked people, I said, if anybody was going to, you know, contact any of the solar companies to get a price, if they would give me a call, and Mary Lou was nice enough to say, Rich, I had it done, and they were up at my house. Well, if you guys remember 3 shows again, when I went up there to take pictures, I held the camera on. I held the phone. I was holding it like this instead of like that. So anyway, I was able to make amends on the camera position, but there was a second part of the show where I wanted to show what happens inside our house. Because when you have the solar panels hooked up on your roof, they hook you up through the internet, and you see exactly what your house is producing by the hour, by the day, by the month, by the year, and you could see everything. And guys, I'm going to give you, well, first of all, let's do let's do the solar panels first to refresh our memory on Mary Lou's house. So we'll do that first, and then we'll come back and we'll go over this. So can you roll that, John? Nope. We're looking for number 8. Should be Mary Lou. Something went wrong. We're going to try this again, guys. There should be one that says Mary Lou. I took it off the iPhone. I know we looked at it. It's there. Nope, you're coming back. There. Okay, I think we could... Oh, okay, good. This is even better. Now we're getting the whole solar view of Mary Lou's house. Look at that. I think she needs to cut this tree a little bit, because that probably interferes with the morning sun. But look at all those electrons going to work, saving her money. All right, hopefully she's home, but she said I could take pictures of the outside. Nice job, guys. Okay, now, I went inside to Mary Lou's house so that we could, and I videoed the her computer, you know, the computer screen. So Judy, you got to flip over to the other camera now because we want to come in over here. And then, now what I'm going to do, what I'm going to tell you guys, what blew me away, I screwed the video up. I put the wrong format, so we can't watch it. But what happened was, she sent me an email. And when she sent me the email, I can actually go in and watch the electricity that our house is generating. I'm not kidding. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give you an email address. And what you do is you go into this email address, tell Mary Lou you saw the house on Who's Telling the Truth, and she'll send you a reply. And in the reply, you just click on the different services. And I'll try to show you what they look like over here. If we go to the top, I gotta put my glasses on. But anyway, let's see, the top is the solar energy production, and I think this is for the week. Okay, so you could see from 7/1 to 7/7, that's how she generated, and of course, the last day is not a complete day. All right, I don't know what happened this day. Oh, maybe it's clouds, who knows? All right, but how are we making out with that? That looks good, Judy? Looks okay. Okay, good. And then, so if we come down to this one, now this is funny. This is the daily chart, guys. And look what happens as the sun comes up. And I tell you, on some of the charts, some of the different days, it's almost a perfect curve. You know, as the sun, it's just dynamite how it works. And then the one that's on the bottom, this is what she's generated monthly. So you can see she only had the system installed in March. April, May, June was a good month. July should probably be, I would think July and June would be the best, you know. But she'll be able to tell. And I mean, guys, and John, if you know, this is what I'm talking about when I mention facts and figures. These things don't lie. You know, when you're generating the power, it doesn't lie. When CLMP gives you a credit, it's not a lie. When you bring the money to the bank and you put it in your account, it's not a lie. It works. And that's all we have to do. We only have to embrace it. And that's why with the Phase 3 plan, hopefully, everyone will get on board. You know, because they'll start to realize, hey, these things really do work. They do benefit the community. They do benefit everything. And most importantly, they benefit one thing. Guys, put your roofs to work. If you could go out and get a part-time job, would you do it? So I had to. You know, I mean, when I was younger, you know, raising the kids, you know, we had to work extra hard. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, you know, but maybe if I would have put my roof to work, But guys, this ain't funny because you can become a capitalist. And to everybody, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You don't have to say why you put them on your roof. Just put them on. That's all we want to talk about. Now, the one thing that we really haven't touched much on when it comes to solar power is solar water heaters. So we're going to delve into that now because, we kind of left that, but if you can get the water on your roof up to 160 to 200 degrees, you don't have to burn any oil, guys. I mean, wouldn't that be nice? Think about how much money you spend each year on oil. And you don't have to do it anymore. And plus, you're not going to ruin your kid's future. All right, John, so let's see this last video.
The sun has been used to heat liquids for centuries, ever since a human first left water out in direct sunlight. But it was a Swiss naturalist named Horace de Saussure who designed the first working solar water heater back in the 1760s. Saussure built a shallow wooden box, insulated the inside, then trapped water there. When he covered the box with glass and left it in the sun, he discovered that the water inside heated up to 228 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 degrees above the boiling point of water, without using a flame. Today's solar water heaters work on the same basic principle by transferring the sun's radiation with specially coated absorbers to heat air or water.
For instance, if you ever had the experience of your garden hose in the sun, you'll notice that it provides hot water. This is the same principle. However, we use an insulated box, we use copper to be able to heat the water to a higher temperature to which you'd ordinarily use within your home or your business.
You can tell if a building uses solar heat because the solar collector is either attached to the roof or nearby. Unlike early solar heaters, today's passive solar heating systems are much more effective because they circulate water through copper tubes inside a specially coated box. Most have no working parts and require only local water pressure and sunlight to work.
It's far less expensive to heat water with solar than any conventional fuel source. Number two is the concern about climate change. You don't need any fossil fuels which emit carbon to heat water.
Modern solar heaters start off as a plain roll of flat copper. The copper roll is first cut to the length of the tubes that will fit inside the solar collector. Then, the copper is put into a press where it is given its round shape. From there, a technician inserts the shaped copper into an automated welder. After checking that it is in precisely the right position, the welder combines an arc of electricity with an inert gas to create a flame that melts the copper and allows it to fuse together. Once the heat is removed, the metal begins to cool and solidify, creating a perfectly round, leak-proof tube. From there, the newly formed copper tube is taken to a stand where caps are welded onto either end. In this case, the 4-inch diameter tubes are then arranged in order on a rig called an absorber plate.
Okay. Now, guys, once again, what's so important now is the fact that we take advantage of the Phase 3 pilot program on the Solarize Connecticut. Oh, and there's something else I forgot to mention. People's Bank and U.S. Bancorp last week agreed to a $26 million venture on lending money for solar use. Not kidding. I read the article and I printed it. I don't know where I put it. But anyway, so, you could start to see. People are starting to say, wait a minute. These things, when the chief financial officer of a company goes to the CEO and he says, we just can't cut any more corners. there's no other ways that we can help increase the bottom line. Look up. The sun will provide us with everything we need. That and wind, we got all the bases covered. You know, and I mean, these are things, you know, and when the chief financial officer starts to realize that there's a monetary benefit, the game's over. You know what I mean? Let's just go ahead and do it. So guys, I'm going to read a little bit from you, and this is the opportunity summary from the Clean Energy Finance and Investment Authority. And it states, the Clean Energy Finance and Investment Authority, CEFIA, is requesting proposals from Connecticut municipalities to demonstrate local interest and engagement in participating in the next round of Solarize Connecticut pilot. This program will drive community adoption of solar photovoltaic projects through a partnership focused on localized marketing and installation efforts, which in turn will help to drive down the installation cost of residential solar PV installations within selected communities. In the summer of 2012, the towns of Durham, Fairfield, Portland, and Westport contributed. Lessons learned during the first phase of the Solarize Connecticut program were applied to the second round of the program, which was launched in Bridgeport and Canton, and through a town coalition in Mansfield and Wyndham. In the spring of 2013, to learn more about the program with these municipalities, please visit Solarize Connecticut webpage at www.solarizect.com. So guys, that's it. I'm throwing the ball in your court. I'm giving you the ball. So let's run with it. And let's thank Mayor Mark for giving us a shot in the arm. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, City of Danbury. Let's make things happen. All right, guys. Okay. Now, how much time do we have? We don't know. We still don't.